for joining me for a fresh new edition of High Voltage. I'm your host. I am best-selling international author MacKenzie Nelson, and I am here today fiercely determined by an encounter which sparked this issue that I have been thinking about. How can I help? And the issue I'm talking about is mental health. May just so happens to be Mental Health Awareness Month, so I couldn't think of a better time to address this topic on my podcast than right now. Now is the time for us to start thinking about how we can help proponate healing and wholeness in terms of mental health. How can we make a difference? Me and you. It starts with us, right? The difference to move things, to change, to shift things. It starts right here and right now, one person at a time. And I am a firm believer in that concept. It's a big reason why I stepped to the forefront. And I, with courage and bravery, have written about the issue of mental health and how it has shown up literally back in July of 2019 at my very front door. Prior to this, mental health was something that I knew existed, the challenges that people who struggle deeply with the violent propensity, when you hear of people with schizophrenia or dementia or these type of diseases coming and committing acts of violence toward other people. This was something that I read about in papers or magazines or online and showed up in the daily news, but it wasn't something that happened to me. It didn't happen in my town or my community until it did, and then it became very, very personal to me. Like, what are we doing to help people who are deeply struggling with mental health in the community? I had an experience, like I said, in 2019. The cops showed up. If you want to know more about it, you can check out my book. All the details are in there. And in my situation, there was nothing the cops could do. There was no further action to be taken when a man tried to break into my home with me inside because he was struggling with a severe mental illness. There was nothing that they could do. We had a facility here. I'm in Peoria, Illinois. This is where I was born, where I was raised, where I still choose to live my life. It is a wonderful city with so much to offer and a great community of people. I love it here. But what I didn't love was that they closed down our only mental health facility. It was called Zeller. And this was something that was servicing people, who were really deeply, deeply affected with mental illness. But it also served as a safe space to keep them out of society and unable to access the daily citizens such as myself. So the cops were remiss back in 2019. Their hands were tied, and they were very kind, but also reassured me that there was not much they could do. So this person was just quickly released back next door where I live. And to this day, he leaves for a time, but he's still in the residence. And we're never sure what the day might bring. There's no guarantees as to our safety on a daily basis. Ever since this issue happened, I just have to trust God and trust that He is the one that is going to continue to keep me protected, to keep my family safe, because this is what daily life looks like for me, being impacted by someone who is a neighbor who doesn't have the ability, has lost the ability to regulate themselves. What can we do to change this scenario? I know I can't be the only person who is in a situation like this, where there is just simply, you're being told over and over again, there's really not a lot anyone can do to help you. It's an uneasy feeling, and it's raised awareness in my heart that I'm not alone in this struggle. And even watching the news, the statistics are growing. Our mental health is in decline as a whole in America. Sorry, it breaks my heart for these people who are struggling so deeply. And I know personally myself, I've had struggles with mental health that I detail in my book. I went through a really rigorous physical battle where I was in and out of doctors, bounced around from specialists, trying to figure out why I was so tired, weighed down, not feeling well, had no energy. And it wasn't until I started to press in spiritually to God, I started to look to Him, I started to really dig into my faith. And I believed in Jesus before my physical battle, but the fact that I could not function really gave me no other choice, because the health professionals were baffled. They would find things here and there, but more medications, more disorientation, more struggling with my mental health. I was in a downward spiral. I was in a pit. I was destitute and sad as the mother of 2 small children, that everything was being put on my husband. And I did not have much support during that time. There was really not a lot of people that I had aligned myself with that were looking to help me. And their idea of help was really just to tell me, that I wasn't really doing a good job of trying to figure out what was going on with me, or to give me more advice or more things, like, oh, this didn't work. Why are you still doing that? You should stop that. Just opinions everywhere. There wasn't a lot of love. There wasn't a lot of nurture. There wasn't a lot of care. There was no one volunteering, like, let me come over and watch your kids and help you out and sit with you in this and just listen to you and what you're struggling with and what you're going through. So ever since 2019, I've been praying for a way to really feel like I am personally impacting the issue of mental health in a positive way, where I'm really feeling like I'm making a difference. So I had an invitation to join the Junior League, which is an organization locally who is in our community. They are a presence. They are looking to just help enrich the community, to give back. And the issue this year that they decided to tackle was mental health. And I just couldn't tell you how hearing them announce this issue in an organization that I had recently joined up with felt just so timely. And it felt like here's a way for me to redeem my situation, for me to feel like I'm helping people like, my neighbor, helping people like myself, right? Who I struggled mentally for a while I was going through my physical health battle. I really had a hard time mentally, physically, but on the spiritual level, I was getting stronger and stronger every day in my faith and trusting God. And it finally reached a culmination where I understood how real God was and how real Jesus was. Not just in like, oh, they're at church way, but in an everyday reliance. He's everywhere. He's in every breath. He's in everything I do. And this is when my mental health started to soar and improve. This is when my physical health started to get so much better. This was when I got a second wind. I got a supernatural infusion through my faith, and that's how I'm able to do what I am doing now. It's a miracle that I'm able to participate in the Junior League, to have the energy to do this, as well as to be a mother to my children, to be a wife to my husband. It's a miracle that I have this capability. And I really just want, if you are struggling with mental health, to let you know that there is a way out of this battle. That if you trust God, if you grab hold of your spiritual lifeline and you go all in with God and trusting Him, and you keep talking to Him, you keep relying on Him, He will pull you out of that hole. He will pull you out of the spiral. And it doesn't mean you won't struggle sometimes. It doesn't mean that you won't have bad days or that you won't have to battle. Trust me, I still, to this day, I battle to become the person that I wanted to support me that I did not get. I decided, you know what? I'm not going to wait for people to support me. I'm not going to wait for people to value me or to care about me. I'm going to value myself. I'm going to care about myself, and I'm going to be the change that I want to see in the world. And it's going to take each of us having that perspective and stepping into the battle and off the sidelines. What are you doing today to step into the conversation about mental health? Are you talking about it in your home? Because that is really where it starts. That's where we build the foundation with our families, with our children. That's where we impart to them the ability for them to feel things. We don't label their feelings right or wrong. We teach them how to process these feelings. We don't put people down for feeling a certain way. We acknowledge them, we validate them, and we help them to feel seen so they never feel worthless or meaningless, or they feel like they can't get anything right. And if you are surrounding yourself with people who consistently point out all of your downfalls and are never picking you up and never speaking into your life, that does have a diminishing mental effect. I know, because since I have realigned myself with people who look to lift me up, for the most part, nobody's perfect. We all have our flaws, but for the most part, I am surrounded, loved, and cared for by people who look to help me, who look to confirm things with me, who look to want to have a good relationship with me. Not people who are trying to tear me into pieces because they feel less than me. And that is a huge thing, right? If you're struggling mentally, check out your relationships. Look who you're aligned with. Look what they're speaking into your life. Because since I've been apart from that, my mental health, the way I feel about myself, in Chicago this weekend, I was just, looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, wow, I'm so proud of who I am, who I'm becoming, and how far I've come from where I once was. Make sure you're patting yourself on the back, recognizing your growth and acknowledging that you are brave just for getting out of bed every day, just for going to work, just for getting your kids ready. You are doing a good job. I'm my biggest fan, and I'm always telling myself these things like, good job, MacKenzie. Way to go, MacKenzie. You did it, MacKenzie. It's totally great to be your biggest cheerleader. And the more that is your mental mindset, the more you start to feel better mentally. And on the way home, as my friend and I left Chicago, you may have seen this in the news. We saw a bunch of ambulances. We were right by the I-90 bridge. We saw a bunch of cop cars, and my friend's like, oh my goodness, what is going on? Like something bad, a bad wreck. We really didn't know until she got home and sent me the article that a 30-year-old mother and her 5-year-old little girl, the mother had jumped off the bridge onto the ramp, and the bodies were just laying there. And it really, just to have seen that really hit home. Mental health, this resounding mental health needs to be something that we're talking about, that we're thinking about, that is heavy on our hearts. And we can't keep looking away, right? Because it's uncomfortable or because it's not something pleasant to talk about. I believe the mother and the daughter in this incident are still alive. However, how much longer are we going to keep allowing these things to keep happening societally? And we can even go into the realm of school shootings and how America is really the only country struggling with school shootings. What is it about our culture that this type of violence is happening? I believe that there is a link to mental health with a lot of the school shootings. And with children and knowing, I want them to grow up in a world that they have the advantage and the freedom to feel more safe in their circumstances than what is happening societally right now. It's very nerve-wracking to see this all happening and to feel like we don't have the power to do anything to shift it. But I believe if we all start taking steps to start confronting the uncomfortable truths, not only in our life, but in our children's lives, if we start normalizing dialogue about uncomfortable subjects with inappropriateness due to age range, we start talking more about the harder things in families. I grew up in a family where there was a lot of chit chat. It was always loud, but there was no discussions about the things that really mattered to me in my life. It was more just just chat about this, chat about, scream about this, scream about that. But what were we really saying in my household? It was nothing where I felt seen. It's possible to have lots of conversations as a family, but to feel very alone like I did growing up. And I think that's really where we start to shift this mental health crisis in our country, is just paying more attention to our children, to our spouse, to our friends, to the people around us. There's nothing wrong with sending a message like, hey, how are you doing? Just checking in, thinking about you. And I also think we need to encourage each other more verbally. We might think these things and be like, oh, I just love this friend, she's amazing. But have you verbalized that? Have you told your friend how much they matter to you and how much you value her in your life and all of the ways that she impacts your world? Have you really made it a priority to verbalize and to help others see the impact that they're having in the world? Because feedback is so important. I know in just doing what I am doing, I hear some, but I hear so little feedback, honestly, most of the time about my shows, about what I've written. And it's just, even the people that are out here like me encouraging you, oftentimes we're the least encouraged ones. And so I've made it a goal to try to connect with other people kind of doing what I'm doing and to say, hey, I see you. You're doing a good job. Keep it up. You're making a difference, because we all need to feel seen in this world. And that links into our mental health. When we feel fed and we feel spiritually confirmed in terms of like, you matter, you're worthy, and you're loved, and we have that in our lives manifesting in physical form of friends, family, when we have people around us that are willing to verbalize how they feel and willing to say the harder things and have, the harder conversations in order to have those deeper relationships, then we thrive more mentally. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this episode. I really appreciate your time, and I hope I've given you some thoughts and some ideas in how you can really personally start to make an impact. Check out your organizations locally, link up with other like-minded individuals who are looking, to shift some things in their community. And if you're complaining about something in your community, but you're really not stepping forward to get involved, why is that? Take the next step. If God's working on your heart and you're feeling like you're having these conversations, take the next step, sign up, get involved, start seeing what you can do to make a difference. And I am so excited for Mother's Day weekend. I can't wait to hang out with my family and to spend some time with my kids. I hope you have a great one as well. I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.